welcome to the first Road Warrior podcast. My name is Greg Rubendall. I'm here with Lou Arseneault. We're going to have a little discussion about this. Just a little bit of background on the inception of this podcast and its purpose. As traveling sports people, we go throughout the world meeting fantastic people, all different types, different backgrounds, cultures, environments, levels. And through those experiences, we meet a lot of what I would call the unsung heroes, the people that are impactful in your life, that shape your path, that are changing the world. And maybe not everybody knows about them. So this is my way to tell my story with the people that I know, who are innovators and earth-changing individuals. I'm really pleased to invite Louise Arseneault, Canadian by birth, but I would say if there was a passport for global conquest, you would be one of the first. So I'm just going to throw it over to you. This Road Warrior podcast. Have you ever heard of this? Is this something that we've talked about at all, maybe?
Listen, the inception of this, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm so pleased to be here. This inception of this thing happened when we first met originally, and you were traveling east to west, I think on the daily commute. So it's something that was thought about, talked about, and now we've brought it to fruition. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So just for everybody to get to know you and your background, and so we can get into it. But give us a little taste of Lou as the player, mentor, coach, traveler, linguist, writer, all the things that you do. Just kind of give us a breakdown of who are you and why should we know you?
Oh man, I mean that's a loaded question. I don't know that we have enough time for that today, Greg.
Hey, it's
But in a nutshell, I'm somebody like Greg mentioned that I've enjoyed traveling since I was a young girl. I was able to acquire a lot of experiences throughout my career so far, either in the form of a coach, either as a form of a player, or seriously just a human of the world that has been collecting stamp on my passport. The game has brought a ton to me, and through that, I've gotten to meet several wonderful people, and one of them, which is the person I'm speaking to now. But it's brought a various slew of experiences, and I'm sure we're going to get a little more to those details. But it's just been a wonderful adventure, and I don't intend to stop anytime soon.
Yeah, yeah. So it's I think with your background and skills and all the things you do, I think it's fantastic to have you here. Just from my personal one, why start with Lou? Then that would be the big question. So within all of these series, I have a starting 11. So the first 11 people that I plan to chat with. One of the, how did I find this friendship, this now lifelong friendship, I believe, with Lou. And it was during the pandemic. We were, as a soccer club, we were looking for additional staff. We really, at the club I was at, we needed more female staffers. So I had reached out to an organization in San Jose, which is called Female Footballers. For those who haven't had it or haven't heard of it, please, they do some fantastic work with female athletes, mentorship, confidence, and a lot of workshops. So if you are interested in that, Cassie Gray, shout out to you. But I linked up with Cassie and I said, hey, do you have anyone in your arsenal, you like that one, who might be looking for a job? And she said, well, a lot of people are already covered, but there is this one individual who's in northeastern Canada, was in the Bay Area, but because visa situation ran out, had to go back home because work dried up, and she might be interested. And so that's where this whole podcast got conceived, was the hours of conversations that I had with Lou while she was in Canada, looking to secure her green card, looking to get her work visa, and come to the U.S. to be able to work within the club. And so this was many hours, and I ended up learning a lot about her and her path. And so within that, you're in Canada, right? You're graduating high school, and you say, "Hey, I'm ready to travel." Like, talk us through, how you came into the U.S., how you worked in the Bay Area, and then back and forth through the pandemic, and where our paths crossed.
Sure. So I played soccer here I'm from a small town. It's called Dunlop, New Brunswick, Canada, on the eastern part of Canada. And I grew up playing soccer here, but I had aspirations to play just soccer like every other, young aspiring player. Wanted to play professionally, wanted to had dreams to play for the national team, like all these things. And luckily for me, there was a gentleman who worked at a school in the South in Alabama that came and gave a clinic. And I was like, I'm going, I need to go. So gave a clinic here. He actually thought that I had skills and he passed my information along to the collegiate coach. So after my senior year, just before my senior year, I went on a college visit at the University of Mobile in Alabama. And I came home and I was offered a scholarship. So that was the start of or the beginning, I should say, of like my traveling journey. So I moved to Alabama. I got to play collegiately for 4 years. And then in the summers of those 4 years, instead of just like doing the soccer packet that you're given, I wanted to supplement with additional playing because I thought like obviously you learn more through just playing the game and not just the fitness level. And I played in the W League at the time. So I got to play in teams in Maine. I got to play in New Jersey, New York, Michigan. So I got to travel a little bit there, got to meet some people. Then once I graduated after my 4 years at the university, I did a master's degree in Mississippi. So I became a graduate assistant where I got to get an experience in coaching at the collegiate level, but I still had aspirations to play soccer. So I played that summer. I played for another team in New Jersey, and then I did an application for. There was a new team called the Bay Area Breeze. I never heard of them before, but I had blasted out like I don't know, I think like 20 emails, just teams. And this one team got back to me. This is a little bit of an interesting story, and potentially we can get some lessons out of this one. But this team got back to me. They were like, okay, tryouts are this date, this time. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, okay, let's fly to California and go to this tryout. And on the way, I had a friend of mine, a teammate of mine who was also traveling with me. And I remember like, she's like, what was the name of that team again? And I was like, the Bay Area Breeze. And I remember I was sitting in the Houston airport and she did some research and she's like, wait, this is a pro team? What? We can't go. And I was like, what? This is a pro team? I had no idea. So she's like, we got to turn around. We got to go home. And I'm like, well, we can't turn around. Like, we're in our layover. We're going. There's no way back. So we decided, we're like, you know what? I said, at least if we go, we can measure up. We see how we measure up to these players. And we ended up going to the tryout. And it took a little bit for them to call us back, but we both got a call back. And that began like I signed my first contract and I moved to California to go play in a pro season. And while I was there, I worked camp for supplemental income, and I met a gentleman who then offered me a job after my graduate degree. So I, as soon as I graduated from my master's degree, I loaded up in the car and I moved to California, and that was the beginning. And here we are now. So we did that. I worked for a club out there for a few years, and then unfortunately, pandemic hit. Well, let me go back. It was a year visa, and then I had to apply for another visa, which it's a lottery. So I didn't make the lottery at first. So then it forced me to move out of the country. Then I got to go play professionally in Finland. And then while I was in Finland, made the application, got the application, flew back, and then worked for a little bit until the pandemic hit, and then had to move back to Canada. And then after that, you and I met, and then the rest is history. Worked for Fusion for 3 years, and now here we are.
Yeah, so it's for those who don't know Bay Area soccer history, the Bay Breeze is one of a couple of versions of professional women's teams that have come in. So you have the Bay Breeze, I think it was the Cyber Rays was there for a little bit, and now we have Bay FC,
That's right.
Oakland Soul, and now I think a much more stabilized women's sport culture across all sports. But I think in soccer, anybody who's been paying attention, it's the Kim is the last name. Who she owns the Spirit and a couple of different clubs. I don't know if you saw that. I'll have to cut this.
Yes,
Yeah, I want to say Debbie Kim,
yes,
but that's not
Michelle,
right. Michelle
Michelle.
Kim. Michelle Kim, who invested in the entire land infrastructure, and a lot of money is being put into women's sports. Really, for those who are aspiring, 2031, right around the corner, we host the Women's World Cup.
That's right.
In 45 minutes is the Men's World Cup draw in DC. So a lot of global events coming on, and so. But within that, talk to me a little bit more about the mentorship side. So working with female footballers, and kind of what your purpose is for doing that, and
Mhm.
what you've gotten out of those relationships that you brought in.
Sure, sure. So my desire to give back to the community started super early on. I remember when I was just playing at the university level, every time I came back during the holiday season, I would try to give a clinic here. And then after that, I would do like a parent conference to give information to young aspiring athletes as well, to show them what was possible. Like I was the first one out of my hometown to get a collegiate scholarship at an American university. So that was, like a little bit of buzz around the town. So I wanted to always give back in that sense. And it's kind of cool because from those chats and those discussions, I think there's 3 or 4 athletes from my area that's actually been and played for the university that I played for. So it's kind of cool. That I was able to give back in that way. So that was the first piece in terms of just trying to aspire the upcoming generation. I've also had the opportunity to go and speak at my local like middle school, elementary school, like places and teachers that I've seen along my growth and that have helped shaped me and mold me into who I am. But I'm able to give back and to talk a little bit about my journey and to just say that like, listen, I come from a small town, but like anything is possible. Like so trying to inspire the upcoming generation. So that was early on. And then just at the start of the pandemic, I mean, obviously coaching, you're a mentor also to aspiring athlete, and you become the bridge between what they aspire to become and their goals. So you get to be like that tangible kind of like link, by sharing your experience and sharing your knowledge, and obviously become a person of somebody that they can look up to and that they can trust, right? So that was something that brought me a lot of personal value early on as well. And then when I recognized that, then I'm like, how can I pour into? And I always try to teach lessons that expand far beyond just the game of soccer. So using the medium of the sport to teach life lessons. So I've learned that by doing it that way, they can make great associations and they think bigger picture. So that was like the early onset of how that came about. But then just at the start of the pandemic, Cassie Gray, exactly. So reached out and I'm not exactly, I had played with one of their early founding founders within the Breeze actually. So there was like a lot of little connection in that sense. And what they were doing, I thought was phenomenal for the mental side of the game and for female athletes. So I joined their program and was able to be a mentor for several of the mentees that went through their program and was able to help that way too. Um, and then at Fusion, started my own kind of like mental side of the game thing, was able to create content that could impact the players, like as a technical director and as a, as a female athlete and coach in the Bay Area. Sometimes, like you mentioned, wanting to have female coaches is for that purpose. So I was able to embrace that role and to try to give back.
So if you could give one recommendation to a youth club or female program, could be a high school program, college program,
Hmm.
what one thing, with resources, notwithstanding, what would you recommend a program set up for the success of their athletes and their families, for the female athlete in particular?
I mean, I think that that's a loaded question because I think every team and every program has different demands. But from my experience, I think that like especially at the most influenceable ages, 12, 13, 14, um, kids start looking outward for validation. So it's important to understand like their mental needs and mental capacities and ways in which we speak to the player. So understanding their needs, and I think the way that we speak with them is one of the most important, and caring about the athlete itself. So that way when they understand that you actually care for them and they're not just there to fulfill a role, because sometimes they're they're mixed between, oh, do I spend time with friends? My mom wants me to do this, or there becomes just different priorities in their lives, and you want to create a safe haven where they can come. And when they're spending that hour and a half with you as a player, they're forgetting about the work at school. They're forgetting about whatever they're dealing with. And when you're able to create that, you create an environment where it's super healthy for the kid to be able to express themselves. And then now they're learning social skills and how to like problem resolution, like conflict resolution. Um, I think it's difficult to just pinpoint one thing, but like I think it's simply said, but finding humans that really deeply care and not just the X's and O's, caring about the results, but caring about the overall athlete and the environment that you're creating. Because a lot of times we think that like fun and hard work are antagonistic, but
Mm,
I've learned throughout my career, and I'm sure you can attest to that, that like they're not, they're married. When you create
mm,
an environment where it's fun, kids want to come. And when they want to come, they want to work hard. And then
mm,
it's like the results are a byproduct of the environment that you create.
mm. Yeah, and I think one of the things you mentioned there is just being able to, when you show up at the field, that all your worries in life, go to pass, and you can just find yourself getting lost in the game. And I
That's
think
right.
with young children, it's definitely modern children, is they're so influenced by external factors and live in their heads that sometimes they have a difficulty disconnecting from that world that isn't right that is outside of them. So they don't really become mindful of the situation they're in and really taking it in. So I know we've done a lot of team building type of activities with you, but in terms of understanding what is your environment, who are you with, how can you get the most out of this, and really leading to that. I see personally that parents are loading more and more things onto the plate of children from 3 to 10 p.m. on weekdays, weekends. So they're overloaded, overstimulated, moving from one thing to the next. So they're not really able to fully embrace the things, the big moments, right? The things. So if, for example, we're practicing 6 days a week versus 2 days a week, right? There's a little bit, you're going to get more reward out of 2 days because it has a bigger impact than 6 days. And I look at that from my personal experience as a player in college where I was in the training room for 2 hours doing physical therapy, post 2 hours after training, and then training. So it was 6 hours of my day was in playing with the team. And I loved playing, but it was a big responsibility that didn't leave a lot of air for the other things in life, right? And so,
Mhm.
as we, talk about these things, being one of the things that from the game that I always tell people, there are three ways that I can go anywhere in the world and make friends. I have a U.S. passport. I speak and actually teach English, and I play soccer. Right. So within those three things, I can go anywhere in the world, bring a ball,
Mhm.
and make friends because somebody who I run into is going to be interested in one of those three things. At least they have familiarity with them. And
Mhm.
so, as we worked in Livermore, which for those East Bay, Lawrence Livermore Labs, very cerebral scientific. Uh, when you ended up, your visa ran out and you ended up going back to Canada, what was your, and we talked a little bit because you were thinking about, can I renew my visa or not? What what was that next thing that you ended up doing after, getting out of the youth game for a little bit?
So are you talking in, because I'm asking you, but so are you talking in the early pandemic or are you talking about post-pandemic when my visa expired
Yeah,
in May
2023, 24,
2024?
2024.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
Okay.
2024. So
So
we've worked together. I've seen you work. We have all
perfect.
those stories. We can get into those another time. But after, on the next phase, so the next
Perfect.
opportunity. So where did you
Yes.
go?
So after playing 11 aside for X amount of years, I transitioned quickly to futsal. So I got to play futsal a little bit, and then I met some people that I also play the sport of beach soccer. So I was introduced to the sport of beach soccer in 2018, early 2019. So I'm sharing that with you because I've been playing now for the last 4 seasons in the Spanish Premier League. So Every
They have
summer,
a
we go a bunch
they
of
have
us
a
and we play
they have a Premier League for beach soccer in Spain.
First
All right.
Division Women's League.
For those out there, if there's any other glowing examples of why traveling is important, especially in the summer times, beach soccer in Spain, I think not a bad
Not
holiday.
half bad. Not a bad holiday. Not a
And
bad holiday.
yeah, yeah. And a team. So yeah, so
That's
what's
right.
that experience look like?
Well, experiences, I mean, the first summer everybody arrived mid-May and we've played, it was a mix of the team is called California, so it's a mix of California players at the beginning because it was an original project that was created to blend the cultures and show basically inspire the youth out of the Spanish youth to think bigger and to show that sports are a way to see the world, kind of like what we've been talking about. So that experience has been phenomenal, which is why I kept going. I was there at the first season that happened. We've not gotten relegated, which was good. Last year we actually ended up third place in the league, which is phenomenal. So we've been growing, we've been having fun. So when my visa expired in 2024, in May 2024, it was the start of that Spanish season. So
Mhm.
I left California and I went to Spain for what has been obviously my fifth summer there. And instead of moving back to Canada, I decided and I opted to live in Spain. So I applied for a student visa. I took some Spanish classes. I've been living and immersed in that culture. Now like you've talked about languages, teaching English. Like now, I have a little bit of Spanish under my belt, and allowed me to just see another world. Because to me, when we travel, that's the best education that you can have. So it just enriches you, and it's just something that nobody can take away from you, which is important. Tell me.
Yeah, it's again that one of the main things of this of what I have done, which and I know Lou has done in her lifetime, is when you travel, is attempting to get fully immersed into that new environment, the
Hmm.
language, the culture, the food, the history, everything about that place, not just the hot spots, right? Not just the tourist traps, not just the things that you'll see in movies or read in books, but really understanding the people of today.
That's right.
And I think California, right? Excellent
Yep.
name. I know. There, you were part of another program here in Northern California too, right?
That's
Didn't
right.
you all have a team or a group? Who's that? And I know you had a little hand in some of the development side of that stuff.
We did. So I was part of Cali Beach, which was formerly known as NorCal. We were under somebody different, but as like strong female leaders, we decided to break off and create our own um, team, which now I believe there was a point where we were ranked third in the world, which is kind of cool in terms of like a club soccer. So we've been playing well. That's been another cool opportunity. We've been playing in places such as like Argentina, Costa Rica, El Salvador. So again, just another vehicle that allowed me to see places of the world because of the medium of the sport. And Cali Beach was one of the first teams out of our area who, from a female pro team, self-funded female pro team, were able to have a men's team as opposed to the other way around, which was super cool when that was created. So just kind of like pioneering with some people that are very like-minded and want to see the sport develop in a way where we're pushing the boundaries of what people think are possible.
Yeah,
So
and the group, I know you're in Canada for your father's birthday,
yeah.
surprised him. But the group is down in Central America right now competing, no?
That's right. That's right. They're headed into the quarterfinals, so we'll be watching them as well coming
Okay.
soon.
All right.
Hmm.
And something very unique that I'm have to promote it, but tell me about the sound wave.
So,
So, so on their uniform, you have the
mhm,
numbers, logos, things, and there's a tiny little squiggle near the neckline of all the
that's right.
jerseys. And
That's right.
I'm just like, what is that, right? I'm a mathematician, so there's a sine wave. So what is it? How did you think about that? Tell us more because it's really interesting.
Yeah. So we had a sponsor. His name is Lee Keith. He owns a company called BLR, which stands for Believe, Love, and Respect of the Game. So with his, he creates jerseys for us at every event. But he said, like, whatever you guys want to create, let me know, and we're gonna make it come to life. And creativity. I like. little things that are meaningful. So I was like, man, how can I make this special? And I started thinking, and I had the idea of creating a sound wave where the whole team as a whole would say something, and we would put it on the back of the neck, and that would be a staple of our jersey. So we got on a Zoom call, and we all agreed, and everybody together said, "I love you, beaches." Which now it's the whole team saying, "I love you, beaches," because we always call each other beaches. We play beach soccer, and there's like a funny innuendo on that piece. And
Yep.
now we get to rep and we play with that as part of our staple. So any jersey that he makes, any new thing that he makes, that is a yes or yes forever stamp on the jersey that kind of like sets us apart from the whole crew. So yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, you would never notice it because it just looks like a squiggle, right? So anybody who's
Hmm.
seen a sound wave, it's not words. It's very unique. So I think if you're out there, please steal that idea because the significance, and I think when you put on the jersey, right, you know the heart and soul that goes into what that putting that jersey in. It's not just the number, the crest. It's
That's
really
right.
just the voice, voice, mind, camaraderie. So I think
That's right.
that's pretty unique. So I know before you started your beach season, you had to, and every morning, because this is when I would call you, we won't call it Tuesdays with Maury, but walks with Lou. I know you have, you have a morning walk process, and what did that lead to, is what I'm saying.
So, I mean, I do something where people think is super strange. Obviously, I chat with you on our call, but a lot of times I would also take my book out for a walk. So it's something where we're working the body and at the same time feeding my mind. And people see it as being silly, but then it hit me one time and I was like, you know how people like walk around with their phones all the time? They're doing the same thing I'm doing, but I'm spending my time in a different way. So that has led then to like obviously reading more books, obviously like getting just expanding mind processes. And um, I mean, I don't know if you're insinuating walking
Uh,
forever, which
yeah,
I've
well,
done,
it was
or
walking with my book. I can't. You had a phrase specifically. It was
taking my
like,
book for a walk.
I'm taking my book for a walk. That's what it was. I'm taking my book for a walk. And then
Yeah.
I know just with, I mean, in terms of people that I know who are well read, Lou has read everything under the sun, all types. So a super wealth of knowledge. But I know you went on a walk in Spain. What was that like? And I know you did a little bit of a story about that. So tell us more, because I'm
So
interested to hear more of it.
yeah, so I'm sure if anybody's ever heard of this thing called the Camino Santiago or the Way of St. Jude, or if you're more like you've heard it probably on the French speaking, it's called the Compostela or the Spanish version. So that is a pilgrimage that is done through Spain, where there's actually different starting points now. You can start like in Portugal, you can start on the border of France, you can start in France, you can start, but it's like basically a pilgrimage where people from all over will gather and walk. You can do it by yourself. Some people will do it like with friends, but it is something that you want to do for earlier on. It was like for spiritual awakening, for like, to repent of your sins, that kind of thing. But now it's become something a little bit more where people go on a soul searching journey, essentially. And it's something that my mom had spoke to me about, I don't know, I would say like 5 or 6 years ago. And ever since she said it, I'm like, I'm so intrigued. So having the opportunity to have moved to Spain, it was on my bucket list. I'm like, I am doing this thing. So last October, I decided to take a train up north. So I started on the border of France called Irun, and I decided to walk all the way to Santiago de Compostela, and it was 900 kilometers. So it was a 36-day pilgrimage. It lasted, I mean, I arrived to Santiago de Compostela, and there was another place called Finisterre, which is at the earlier times, the Romans would call it end of the world. And it's like you walk until you cannot walk no more. And so I did the extra 3 days, to go to Finisterre to say that, like, okay, I went to kilometer zero and I've done it all. But the experience in and of itself was something that is so hard to express in a way where people can fully grasp the magnitude and the beauty of which it just reconnects you to the simplest things in life. I mean, I mean, I would walk from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Like you're just walking all day, and it makes you realize that like you're taking time to slow down and you're not doing the rat race of life, and you're the every little thing that you're doing is like magnified by 10. Like you're eating because you're actually really hungry and you're tasting food what felt like for the first time again. Showers were something that were of like a luxury. Like you're like, wow, how grateful am I for, hot water and clean clothes. And I mean, it was something that like moved me in such a way that it's imprinted in my life forever. But the people that you meet throughout there are also very like-minded and they're doing their own journey as well. Like I've met people from 20, 27 different countries on my walk, and people from all ages. Like I met people that were younger than me, and I met people that were up to 80 something years old walking by themselves. And there was one lady I remember, like I don't think I can ever forget her, but she was a lady from France. She literally locked the door to her house and started from her house and got to Santiago de Compostela. So she added another 200 kilometers, 80 years old, carried her own backpack. And I remember she said to me, she's like, I will be I'll be 80, she said. And she's like, look at me, I've done all of this. And she's like, and where we live, people look at me and they put me in a nursing home. But she's like, I want to challenge all the norms. Like, so they're just stories of people of to why they do what they do and what inspires them. And you just realize that it brings so much value and so much richness in your soul that it's something that I would recommend if anybody's wanting to do something like that. It's something that like is super soul enriching. And you're living in hostels, like, it's so cool. It's just a cool experience, honestly.
No. Well, and for those who can't get all the way to Spain, I'm sure there's a possibility to create your own Camino in wherever
Sure.
you live, right? So, set, a 3-day hike, consistently like that through some part of the state or the countryside that, just to detach and get away. I think a lot of times
Hmm.
people hike, they go from the bottom to the top of a mountain, right? But it doesn't necessarily have to be up to go out,
That's right.
right? So
That's right.
I think a lot of people, misnomer. But I know for me during the pandemic, where working 12-hour days in soccer with kids, love it. I didn't really have a lot of time for myself, and I did more
Hmm.
hiking, traveling during that time outdoors. Even though I was always outdoors with kids, I actually had time for myself, which again,
Hmm.
this podcast was one of the ideas coming from, hey, a little bit more, mental freedom within that. So really,
That's right.
really cool. You inspire me to want to tell somebody to go do that.
I mean, listen, it's just one of those things. Not
Yeah,
about you.
it sounds like a really good idea for you.
For you.
I love that.
No,
Hey,
but it's
one of my favorite Lewisons. I love that for you.
for
I
you,
love
for
that
you,
for you.
for you. No, it's just like, and you learn so much about like how your body's adaptable, like how you. I remember like I left that first day, and I thought I was arriving at my destination that day. Like in
Yeah.
my brain, I'm like I remember I didn't take any breaks. I ate my sandwich on the way. Like I was just going for gold. I woke up the next day, I could hardly move. And I'm like, I'm a freaking athlete. Like, like I had to like manually lift my legs, like to try to like climb. I mean, it was just an experience where your body is in pain for the first 3 days, and then all of a sudden it adapts and it just teaches you. There's just so much like rich life lessons that I was able to pull out from that there is just something that is imprinted forever now. But it just humbles you as well as a human.
So it's something that goes through my mind. Do you know the origin of the marathon? Where the marathon came from historically?
In Rome, right? It was
Yeah, it was in Roman times. So
yeah.
I think it was the Spartans and the Athenians. And one of the messengers was tasked to run
That's right.
ahead and warn the city that the Athenians were attacking Sparta or vice versa. I don't know the details, but from Marathon to the city was 26.2 miles, and the legend, because it's history and it happened so long ago, may or may not have happened, but the legend is that they ran ahead and presented the message and died on the spot.
And died. I heard, yeah.
And so that the marathon was always thought of as something. So I mentioned that because obviously the marathon and Olympics, but when we were talking about how we go through and develop people, right? Not students, athletes, parents, friends, whatever it is in life, it's like holding the torch, the Olympic torch, and you
Hmm.
run as far as you can and then handing it off to the next person that's going to carry that torch. And that torch being that individual that you're working with, whether it's a team, an
Hmm.
individual, a group. But, I think anybody who takes credit for the success of others is not necessarily one, because at the end, we're just a ship that gets people to the next place, and then they get off of our ship and onto another one. And
Hmm.
it made me think of that as you were mentioning that, we're looking to hand people off better than they were when we're looking to develop them and kind of make that process theirs, right? Guide
Hmm.
them through it. And
That's right.
I think it's really, as the Olympics are around the corner, hosting in Los Angeles as well.
That's
So
right.
we've got a lot of sport in California upcoming. Um, but yeah, I think for those who we develop, it's their path. And I think as parents, any parents who are out there, it's your child's path. You're there to help cultivate them, to guide them, but also to find themselves in those things, right? So,
Hmm.
and how do you provide that insight, that reflection, those conversations about the things that are meaningful, not just, not temporal, right? Long lasting. Because
Hmm.
as we said, you get player A, you get person B in a certain situation, you see where they want to go, and you take them as far as you can in the time that you work with them. Could be for 5 minutes, could be for 5 years, could be for 50 years. And I think
Totally.
that's an important thing that as we go through and within all these little experiences, right? What was the French lady's name? Guarantee you know it.
Her, yeah.
You know it. You know it.
Marie-France.
See, so
Marie-France.
and now she's on at least a local stage. She's at least in my apartment, and in your mind. But as we travel, we make these impacts, and we affect individuals, and from those interactions, it changes the path that we're on. And I think that
Hmm.
that in essence is what this whole podcast is about. Is not just the stories, right? Or, the things I would do, but the lives that you changed, right? And I
Hmm.
can say 100% that, Lou, you've changed my life and how I saw it through our conversations. And the bravery that you have is something I see in me or in things that I have done, but the ability to say, that's what I want to go do, and not feeling shackled or held back. Like, I'm going to walk the Camino, right? How
Hmm.
many people probably have thought, "Oh, I would want to," but have never taken that first step,
That's
right?
right.
And I think, as we go through all these little episodes, I'll have people on my path in different locations as well. As we're kind of wrapping up, if you will, just I said three stories. So no particular order, right? No particular topic, but things that stand out from you, from the world of sport, as a player, as a coach, as a mentor, as a world traveler, but just and themes, whatever you want. I'm leaving it open to you.
Okay. But I think I mentioned one earlier on when I was flying to Houston to go play pro. I think that's one of them that I talk a lot about when I go talk in schools to people because it hits me because for me, my ignorance at that time, sending all these messages to all these teams, when one responded, I decided to take the leap of faith and go. But I remember when I was in the layover in Houston, when I found out it was a professional team, something that I wanted to be, I, my first instinct was to turn around. And I had no choice at that time. So it just when I go in schools and I speak about that, I'm like, I had all the physical capabilities of becoming what I've wanted to become. But what held me back was my mental state. I didn't think I was ready. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think of, and that was a rude awakening when I ended up going and did well and ended up making the team. I'm like, wow, I could have, like, how many more missed opportunities could I have had in the past, which I'm not aware of, because I decided to say I am not ready. So I think that that's a really big one in terms of a player, and it's opened my mind to being able to try different sports, which is why like I was able to try futsal, and it's okay to not be very good or very versed at first, but you know that you have confidence in yourself to say I'm apt to learn. I'm going to learn. Right? Or I can solve this. Like instead of like using your the voice that's in your head saying like, well, why do I suck? And your brain's like, this, well, let me tell you why you do. It's like, how can I make this possible? Um, so that's like one of those pieces. And then it helped me transition to also beach soccer. And I think that that's another kind of little story that I think would be worth sharing is that when I was asked to play beach soccer, I had done 2 tryouts with my current team. And then I had to move to Canada at the time because it was like early pandemic, 2019, kind of ish. Not really, but I mean, I had to just move back to Canada for a little bit. And I remember they called me and they said, "Hey, we have a tournament in Turkey in 6 months. Do you want to come?" And I'm like, I would love to come. Like soccer, warm weather, new country, like I'm in. But the issue was that I was living in Canada at the time and it was in January. So what happens in January in Canada? Like there's a lot of snow. Where's the sand? Under the snow. So I'm like, how am I going to make this work? Like I've played the sport twice. How can I? And same thing, as opposed to saying things that are like, oh man, sorry, I can't go. It's impossible. I'm like, there's got to be a way. And I remember doing all the local like lumber shops, all the local like Lowe's to find sand until my dad was like, "Wait, there's a local cement shop out here." He's like, "You need sand to make cement." And he's like, "Maybe we can go buy some." And so we ended up going, and my dad built me a sandbox, a 4x8 sandbox, and I trained in a 4x8 sandbox amidst walls of snow. And my first competition was Turkey. So again,
Do you
there's
have
always a
photos of those?
solution.
Do you have? I
I
want a
have
photo.
photos of those.
I want to photo that.
Absolutely.
That's going in. I want to see in the wall of doom. That's
Listen,
amazing.
I
Okay.
have. Yeah, I mean, and I would cover it with the tarp when it would snow, and I would pull it off, and then like if it got too cold, there was a bucket of hot water. I would put my feet in hot water, dry it off, get back into the sand. Like just ways I would use the like I would use the snow as resistance. I would do sprints in the snow to use it as resistance to like mock the sand, just to kind of get me as prepared as I could. So I think that that's another. I mean, I look back at it and I'm like, to me, it was just something that I needed to do. But to other people are like, wow, whatever the reaction is. But I'm like, I think that if we're looking to solve a solution, there is a solution in
Mhm.
this. There's a ways to come up with a solution that can be
Mhm.
beneficial for all, or for you, or for what you're trying to do. So for me, I'm like, I know excuses are real. I know that they happen, but I'm like, if I want something,
Did,
how can I make it work?
did you guys end up winning the tournament? That's the question. How did you guys
We
do
did
in the
not
tournament?
end up winning the tournament, but I scored a
So
goal. Like
here's I'm gonna throw this out for anybody who's in the
hit
music
me.
or the movie business. We remember Rocky Four, Ivan Drago, sports science, Russian wall, training with everybody, looking on, everything to possibly be successful. And then you have Sylvester Stallone, who's training in the Russian tundra with logs and anything that he can pick up. I'm saying a beach soccer focused Lou versus I don't know somebody whoever won the tournament. But I think you set that up. But it's amazing, and I go back to when I traveled and I was younger, single, and I traveled by myself. I always bring a ball and I dribble it around the
Hmm.
streets, especially in a foreign country where I don't know the language very well. But because I know how to
Hmm.
learn languages, I can make friends pretty quickly. But it's amazing just dribbling a ball down the street. If you start looking at the world like a gym, like as a training center, there's no need for people who say, "Oh, we need the best this or that." Like, the field that I grew up playing on was uh, Section 8. It was on a street called Victory Lane. There was no victories being won in that neighborhood, right? There were drug deals, there were gangs. I remember I had to bring all the equipment in and out for practice. The video camera that had all of the games from our season that I was taking home to do my college highlight reel while loading, I left it on the sidewalk. I got home, I went back 8 minutes later, and the
Gone.
camera and all of the memories were gone. And I still will never let Jamie, if you're out there, Jamie, who is the guy who I borrowed the camera, and his parents did Jamie Lutton, I want to say.
Oh no.
That was, of all of the mistakes, that one, that one is a tough
Still
one.
haunt
But
you
I think,
today, huh?
yeah, so I think it's interesting how, if you want something bad enough, what are you willing to sacrifice or problem solve to get to that solution? Um, it's
Hmm.
it's funny that you say that, like on the flight over to Houston. I was thinking about that literally 10 minutes before this call. First time I'm hosting a podcast. I've been on 15 podcasts for other people, but hosting a podcast, like I was scared. I was like, I don't know. Do I call it? Like maybe I just cancel. I'm not ready. And I'm glad I did, because,
I'm glad you
we
did.
have these conversations. And now Maricela, who's the French lady, the 80-year-old?
Marie-France, Marie-France.
Marie-France, Marie-France. Okay. Uh, okay, let me think. So Spanish, French, English, a little bit of everything, soccer worldwide. You have a magic wand, and you can do and affect any level of change globally that you have import. What would you like to see in your tomorrow?
Hmm. That's a tough one. Mm. I don't even know where to start.
Or
Tough one, tough one,
I'll
tough
kick us
one.
off. We are now eight
Kick us
minutes.
off.
We are now 8 minutes from the World Cup draw for 2026. My
No.
hope is that, and for those, I mean, Lou's Canadian, I'm American. I teach and have many, many Mexican friends. We have been looking forward to this upcoming summer's World Cup for forever. What I hope, this flexible variable payment for tickets. I think I've already spent like $5,000 on 4 games. It's crazy, the cost of the
Wow.
price. What I implore is that everybody enjoy the tournament, and if you can get inside the stadium, great. But I I will lead a movement on how to create a party for the game in these things. So I think, enjoy the cup. Hopefully, United States, Canada get favorable draws. That's obviously. So I'm gonna just throw
Obviously.
that out there.
Listen, I think that's great. I was thinking more globally. I was thinking about
Well, what's
inspiring the
more global
generation
than the
that's
World
coming.
Cup? Oh,
Yes, but I'm in a different realm. In a different realm. I think I would. I think I would remove people's ability to think. Like I want people's limitations to go down. I would want the lid that we put on ourselves, I would want it to be removed and to see how we can make a different impact in the world. Because a lot of times, like I said, a lot of the dreams, like they say that the richest place on earth is a cemetery. Because like all the hopes and dreams of all the things that have not been realized has been there. So I want people to live a life where either at the end of their life they're coming in like broadside, screaming like, what a ride. You know what I mean? So live in a way where not necessarily just to impact other people, but live true to yourself. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do. But for my own self, and it's brought me experiences and it's brought me friendships such as this, that has enriched me in ways where it inspires me to continue to grow and to continue to do more. And I think that, I don't know, I would want people to just stop listening to the world around them and do what they feel is right in their souls.
be
Different
fe-
answer. Not better, not
fearless.
worse, different answer.
No, no, be fearless. Be fearless.
That's right. Easier said
Right?
than done. Or dare
Yeah.
greatly. I like that. Brene Brown says that often. So dare greatly.
Dare greatly. Okay.
Hmm.
I'll have to look that one. Brene, come. Now you're next. You come explain this
Brene,
to
dude,
me.
if Brene's next, I'm flying in.
You'll be the producer. But
That's right. That's
well,
right.
cool. Well, it is just about top of the hour, so I do want to say a big thank you to you, Lou. Again, this idea came from the many conversations that we had in the car, and the laughs and just the funny stories of dealing with the triumphs and tribulations of working with youth sport parents,
Hmm.
working in club environments, and just really wanting the best for the people that we work with. And
That's right.
nobody I know walks into a room and cares more about everybody in that room more than you do. I feel it anytime I've been around you. You truly care, and I love that for you. And I love
Thank you.
that for you.
Thank you.
You know, and I
Thank
and
you.
so but thank you again. And yeah, the road is long and winding. Keep on going. Be a
Absolutely. It's been an
warrior.
absolute pleasure.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for your time and Road Warrior Podcast.